Hey, my friend, just Randy, your host of Building Wins Live. And can you believe we have been spending a whole nother week building wins all week, making it happen, throwing wins on the win pile, all the stuff we do. But the exciting part of the week for me at the end, I love these Fridays at 3 o'clock when we get to build wins live together. Look at that. Barry Brocksterman is on first. He beats Kirsten. Kirsten, shape up, girl. A little disappointed. Barry's got you. Anyway, welcome, Barry, my friend. Barry's actually going to be on the show here in a few weeks, and we're going to talk some Road Warrior stories with Barry, and that's going to be a good time. So, anyways, we've got another great guest today. We're going back to the industry. It's kind of like Back to the Future, I guess, for me, but back to the industry that I have been involved with for a long time, and love it. And so we're going to talk to a guy today, a young guy I had the privilege of chatting with for about 40 minutes or so on the road today. As you can see, I'm not in my usual office studio. I'm in a hotel in Anderson, Indiana, doing Randy or hashtag Road Warrior. Easy for me to say. Hashtag Road Warrior Randy stuff. And so, but you're gonna love Mathew Gerber today. He's a young guy in the world of business in this industry, and we're going to talk some fun stuff. So, why don't you just settle back, settle in, and we'll be here with Mathew in about 7 seconds. So do not go away. Good afternoon, my friend.
Hey, Randy, good to see you, man.
It's good to see you. At my age, it's good to be seen by anybody. So,
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity.
It's great. I wake up every day and it's a ceiling and not a coffin. I'm like, well, that's a good day then.
Absolutely. In Indiana here, when the sun's shining, you'll say, "Hey, we'll take it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little. It's funny. I was down in very down in deep south Ohio, down in hill country, down there by Athens and down in that area, and it's actually starting to look a little green down there.
Yeah.
It's amazing how just a couple of 100 miles of north-south, if you will, makes a difference, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's starting to feel like spring for sure.
Yeah, it is. So, well, Mathew, thank you for being on. I've been looking forward to this for a while. As I'd mentioned to you, and we was talking earlier today when I was driving, that I've been in this industry a long time, and the whole Perma-Column thing, which we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about your Meyer Building company also shortly, but innovative. That's probably the word I use more than anything is just absolutely innovative, and has just made the way of building post-frame buildings. It's elevated the game, I guess, is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's genius that it was thought of, and it came from here.
Exactly.
A builder, right? A builder put it together, right?
Yep.
Builder, build it for builders.
Exactly. Gotta love it. Well, before we get too far in, Mathew, who, what, where, why, when? Who is Mathew Gerber? Give us your story for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a rural Indiana boy. Grew up just south of Fort Wayne, Indiana. I went off to Purdue, got a construction engineering degree, and graduated there in 2013. So that'll date me a little bit there. So I went off in the industry in the general contracting world for about 3 years, and then landed here at Meyer Building 6 years ago. Meyer Building Tri-State Perma-Column. Meyer Building is close to my heart because my dad was the previous owner for about 15 years prior to or after the Meyers owned it. So, and the originator of Meyer Building, Bob Meyer Sr., is actually my mom's uncle, and then he sold it to Bob Meyer Jr. And then my dad purchased it from Junior early 2000, whenever he went off into Perma-Column. So this has been in my family for a long time. And my dad started here in 94. So I was born in 90. If that tells you where I'm at. And so this has been post-frame has been what I've known.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize that you were that close to the family, the Meyer Building brand, if you will. That's pretty amazing. But one thing we will not talk about, we're not talking about the year I was born. We're not going there. Okay.
Fair.
And Wes, I know he's back there. I can see him. If anything goes on the screen about that, you're fired. But anyway, no, but I've been in the post frame world forever, and it's just wow, what an industry, right? It's a fun industry. It's enjoyable to be involved. The people are great, and it's just interesting because we was talking again earlier. I knew Bob Meyer Sr., and then I got to know Bob Meyer Jr. real well,
Yep.
and just watching that progression. And I've got to be honest. When I first saw the Perma-Column, I was first exposed to it.
Yep.
Probably like a lot of folks, and this is a guy that's been in the industry forever. My first thought was, okay, they're going to make cement and stick it on an end of a pole.
Right.
That's like dumb. That was my first thought. I'm going to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. It made no sense. But boy, as I got involved more and saw what Bob was doing, and I was in the plant in Osteon,
Yep.
and I see what that brings to the table and how it elevates the industry from just a what do I want to say, just a wood in the ground pole barn to a true commercial long life building is pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from some credibility as far as Meyer Building, we put wood in the ground for in our infancy, right? I mean, that was accepted. That
So
was
we all did.
Pole barn, right?
Right.
Grandpa's pole barn, and but we're gonna get better with time, right? And so in late '90s, early 2000s, when Bob and his son and son-in-law were looking at that, it was an answer to a problem that plagued every pole barn. And you could talk about treatment, all that stuff, and that's not the point of the conversation. But he was trying to elevate post frame and getting it from being pole barns to post frame, and I think that's something that I look back at and say that was forward thinking, and I'm honored to be able to carry on that brand, and something that it only makes sense. Getting wood out of the ground in general is what I'm about. Obviously, using the Perma-Column family of products is what I'm going to push. But in general terms, I want to get wood out of the ground because that makes post frame a viable solution for the future, not just an economical solution that's going to last a little while or last a long time. I want it to last, for forever in that sense.
Right. Well, yeah, it kind of becomes I don't know, forever. I don't know what forever means, I guess, but it becomes more of a forever building, right?
Yeah.
Where, yeah, that's awesome. So the other thing, and you hit on it a minute ago, and we talked about earlier, and it's kind of interesting to me is as Meyer Building, who's been building in that Northwest at least, or all of Indiana, I guess probably over into Ohio, some based on your location, has been building buildings forever. And the fact that Perma-Column was developed by a builder, I think it says a lot, because there's a lot of products, and as a manufacturer's rep agency, I rep a lot of products, and a lot of them are engineers or just us guys say, gee, we ought to make this and go sell it to somebody. And a lot of times that works fine, but your product is truly built or designed originally by a builder to fit a need. So, you talk about the credibility factor there. This is truly a product for the builder, from the builder, and you're still building, which I think is, and let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
How do you see, because that lends a lot of credibility, the fact that not only are you and your brother and the family business there selling Perma-Column, making Perma-Columns and selling Perma-Columns, but you're putting your name on that every day on every Meyer building that you sell, right?
Right. Yeah. So, it was early on. There was not only was the industry slow to grasp the Perma-Column product, but even consumers, they were like, what's this, right? And well, it's going to break right at that joint. And so there was testing done and all that stuff. We're past the, hey, it works, folks. We're past that point. But it was an option, right? In the beginning, it was an option, right? We couldn't just include it and assume that people were going to be okay with it. And I would say for the last, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years minimum, probably 10 years, it's not been an option. You've got Perma-Columns in your building. Right. And I think that speaks to the volume of credibility and belief that we have in the product, to the point where we just really don't do without it. Right. And go to great lengths to make it work. And I think, one thing we talked about, Randy, every product has a shortcoming, right? We can talk
Mhm.
about that. And there's things that you do if you believe in something, you do make it work though, right? And so
Right.
maybe at some point in the show we can share some tricks and trades of how to make it work in some of the unique instances if that comes up. But yeah, it's not necessarily the one size that's going to fit all in every application, but with the whole family with the brackets and the permacolumns, I think there's pretty much a solution for what you need post frame.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So maybe as we roll into this and talk about product for a minute, let's for anybody that might be silly enough not to know what a permacolumn is,
sure.
and I say that tongue in cheek, but
Yeah,
let's talk about what the permacolumn really is, and maybe in a second, our friend Wes can pop up your website with a picture or two of the permacolumn, and we can kind of talk about that. But I don't, yeah,
yeah,
right there.
perfect.
Wes, if we can stay right there for a second, buddy.
Yeah, it'd be
Um,
great.
if not, I don't, yeah, I'm not sure how that works with what Wes is doing, but so it's a cement column,
Yep,
10,000 there you go, right there, 10,000 psi. I mean, I could do the advertisement, but
that's great.
go
So if you look
go
at
ahead. You'll do it better.
yeah, if you go to the Wes, go to the permacolumn page there, and basically it's a precast concrete column, and it's got 4 rebar welded to the bottom of the steel bracket. They are continuous through the entire concrete portion. So I think that sometimes people are like, so is that bracket just set on top or whatever? So that bracket there that you can see in the picture has
Hmm.
rebar welded to the bottom that goes entirely through the column, and that's designed that way for the structural integrity of the column. And then, like you said, Randy, it's 10,000 psi concrete. So that's not just your standard ready mix that you're going to pour into a hole and call it good. So a fairly, I call it the Ferrari batch.
Right.
It's got a lot in it, right? It's not
Right.
just
Well,
concrete. So
with that for our folks, because I've been to 3 manufacturing facilities that manufacture permacolumn around the
yep.
country, so
Mhm.
pretty familiar with it. But give us an example of your typical concrete floor or the concrete you dump in if you was going to set a pole in the ground, dump concrete around it. How many psi is that compared to this 10,000 psi?
Yeah, so you're probably looking at a 3,500 footer mix or
Yep.
a 4,000 psi mix for a slab. So
So
that gives you an idea there.
so 2.5 times more psi
Yeah,
basically.
right.
Yep.
And a
Perfect.
couple things, it's definitely again the mix. Not to get crazy technical in concrete, I don't know if everybody cares about that, but it's rather than pouring in a slump, you're pouring in a spread. It's a type 3 cement, so it's going to be a high early for precast, so you get your strength quicker like that. So we can strip the next day. Just some things like that that make it harder to work with in some instances, but also make it it takes some skill to continue to make that. One thing with that though, we're ICC certified, so we have third party testing. And actually, just this week, our inspector from Intertech came by and looked at our facility, made sure we were doing what we were saying we were doing on the quality control side of things. And what that does then, that gives the builder the confidence to know that the product they're using is third party tested, meets code, and is accepted in the industry that way. So, for instance, if you're building in a county that's pretty code sensitive, they're probably going to ask for an ICC report, an ESR report for this product if they haven't seen it, if they're not aware of it. So, not every product that's new to the marketplace has that because it's a big investment, but we believe in the product, we believe in the value it brings to post frame. So it's just kind of a no brainer.
Yep.
So every permacolumn, regardless of what size of laminated column, it has 60 inches of concrete, so 5 feet of concrete. All of the permacolumns have 4 rebar in them, but then the bracket is where you get your variation, and obviously the cross section of concrete is where you get your variation for your 3-ply 2x6 up to 5-ply 2x8 for permacolumns. So also have them in glue lamb sizes and then OT sizes for Ohio Timberland. So some varying options there depending on what nail lamb or glue lamb producer you prefer to use that way. So pretty versatile adaptation to the bottom of your post.
Right. So basically, pretty much, if any solid sawn post or laminated, whether it be a nail lamb or a glue lamb, you're going to have a permacolumn that fits.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
4x6 posts and 6x6 posts
Yep.
work for Perma-Columns as well. Yeah. Thanks for
Okay.
saying that.
Yep. So, and then of course you make a deck post, which is not necessarily our industry per se,
Right.
but you make some deck posts, and that makes sense because there's not as many, but these composite decks, nice good sized deck, 2 or 3
Right.
layers, it's you can 15, 18, 20, 30, $40,000 in a deck nowadays, right?
Exactly. And the deck side is something that we're getting into more. And again, obviously, post frame deck is two different worlds, but it is something that ends up being more of a labor savings and more of an efficiency thing on the deck side, where most guys are digging a hole and putting satcrete in the hole for decks,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're putting probably a Simpson bracket on top. They gotta wait for the concrete to set up. They can't start building their deck the first day, so they've got to come back the next day. And really, what this allows them to do is dig the hole, put the deck post in there, and start building on it the first day. So really, they gain themselves some efficiency that way, and having to pull off and come back.
Right.
And inspectors are gonna love it as well, being ICC certified. So that's an exciting product to be able to bring to the marketplace here in the last several years. So,
then
we also have the bracket side too. So permacolumns are the precast concrete columns, but then there's a corresponding bracket, whether it's a drill set or a wet set bracket, in each of those sizes, 3-ply 2x6 up to 5-ply 2x8,
mm-hmm.
and then even for an 8x8 solid sawn post too. That's a big bracket. So.
Yes. And those are available wet set as well too, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So so basically one way or the other. So those will come into play for going on a concrete slab, going on I guess I'd call it a stem wall, but a wall like in an animal building, whatever the case may be, and set the pole. It's not even in the ground, but it's above ground, but you're still getting the use of the heavy duty bracket.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that really what that ends up competing with in that arena ends up being stick built, right? So
Mm-hmm.
anytime somebody's building a slab on grade or a footer wall for a animal confinement, that kind of thing, their mind goes stick built. And I think when I want to elevate post frame as a whole, post frame just offers structural integrity throughout its entire diaphragm and the way it's developed. So as you think about columns every 8 foot on center that are rigidly fastened to and somebody may disagree, it's not a rigid connection, yada yada. We could talk about engineering today if we wanted, but that rigid connection from the bracket to the concrete to the wood post, that then allows you to connect to your truss every 8 foot or 4 foot, depending on how you build. And it really gives you a solid connection that post frame offers versus a stick built building. And that's not to bash. I think it's just calling up the post frame and the advantages that it offers.
Right. So do you find, obviously, whether it's a backyard building or just an animal building or whatever the case may be, but this has to get you into areas of commercial industrial that may have been shut out in the past. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a business owner and you're looking at building your landscape building where you're going to have your office up front, showroom, and then your big shop in the back, or if you're building a warehouse, whatever that may be, or an office building, you see some of the even the strip malls. You're not going to invest in that and put wood in the ground. No general contractor in the world of block and brick and steel studs is putting wood in the ground, right? Except for forming something maybe. So,
yeah, right.
And so that's where I think, because it's been pole barns, grandpa's pole barn, I think we need to shed that and we need to talk post frame and elevate that way.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I've seen back in my days when I built post frame buildings a couple hundred years ago. I wasn't quite there, Matthew, when we took round poles and put them in the ground. So I'm not quite that old, but I remember that. I want to say I remember just how far we've came in such a short period of time, and all the engineering that's done, and all the engineered, and I think that's a key word, is engineered post frame now. It's and you used a minute ago. I think about an ad that had nothing to do with this, but uh, it's not your dad. It's not your dad's Oldsmobile, right? That was a commercial they used to run to talk about that. And in post pole barn, it's not your daddy's post pole barn anymore, right? It's more expensive. It's decorated. It's used for multi-use in an area that's happening right now. And this is right up the alley for Perma-Column is the Barndominium craze, right? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
just a huge thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to live in that thing, right? So,
Yeah.
um, what we found in that arena is really inspectors are going to drive. They're going to drive a decent amount of that because they're going to hold the residential code to a higher standard on a primary dwelling. Whereas a lot of times the accessory structure you can get away with, right?
Hmm.
Quote unquote, you can get away with stuff, and we've all done it to some extent. And it's not trying to say that we're perfect, um, but is that really right? Is that really
Hmm.
what we should be doing? And is that actually bringing down
Yeah.
the image at times? So, but yeah, absolutely on post frame homes, barndominiums. That's the area where it feels like a no brainer for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So so walk us through. Um, so Bob Meyer uh, kind of started this whole idea. He kind of founded the whole permacolumn concept, right? And I know Bob well. Haven't seen him. If he catches this, hi Bob. Uh, but as we went forward, uh, you're developing. You're a talk about how I'm trying to think about what I want to ask here. So there's Permacolumn Corporate, and I've had Mark Stover on, who
Oh yeah.
obviously good friends of yours. I've Mark and I've become good friends. He's the president of Permacolumn Corporate, I guess I would call him, right? Or and then there's so they. I believe, and maybe elaborate on this, but they
Yeah.
manufacture the actual brackets,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
then you guys are one of what 5 or 6 or 7 around the country that uh, actually are fabricators, right? You actually
Yeah.
have the system to. So walk us through that a little bit, because I'm going to
Yeah.
use the wrong
Absolutely.
words, maybe.
No, you're great. So back in I think maybe 2004, Bob decided to go off and start Permacolumn Corporate, right? So where he had a brand and he set up precasters is what we refer to ourselves
Okay.
as precasters, distributors. We have the right and the agreement to be able to manufacture and then sell into the marketplace the permacolumn and the associated family of products, meaning sturdy wall plus, deck post, and the like. So at that point, then he set up several different distributors throughout the country, and then there's actually several in Canada now, even to this at this point, who are doing the same thing. They're precasting and then selling into the marketplace that entire family. So in Permacolumn LLC in Ossian, they do all the welding, the bending, the stamping, the cutting of rebar, and then the powder coating of the brackets, and then they ship that to us. We then precast and
Hmm.
put the permacolumn portion together, and then we sell the brackets and then the permacolumns in the marketplace. So it works out pretty good from a distribution side. We're spread out throughout the country. It gives us some flexibility there in servicing different areas of the country.
Right. Well, and that really makes sense with a product like this because, and even more so in today's world or environment with shipping and freight as it is, uh, there's a lot of weight
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
permacount. So
absolutely. One pallet's probably 4,500 pounds, right?
yeah.
So you get nine maybe on a truck.
Right, right. So trying to ship them off from Ossian, Indiana to uh, the East Coast or the Deep South or whatever would almost become cost prohibitive, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
it could be.
the advantage here is you can get probably a truckload of brackets
Yep.
into your local. You're of course you're not next door,
Yeah.
but to wherever it is, and then do all the value added, if you will, actual production of the product, and yeah, it's just from a distribution chain standpoint, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think
And
one of the things that then each distributor or precasters really can shine at is the service side, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what we're then doing is we're servicing lumber yards in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, primarily those states in that region in varying degrees, and then we can service them directly with our sales team, our inside sales team, and they can either pick up or we ship to. Um, we're doing a decent amount of social media marketing in those areas to help drive demand for them as companies, and obviously increasing the brand for Tri-State Perma-Column specifically, and Perma-Column as a whole. So it works out well that way, then to spread that brand and that I guess that marketing side and the service piece for our customers that way too. So yeah,
Right.
it's a pretty good system.
And then so the other thing you do now, do you at your facility do any of what do I want to say, laminated columns and send them attached?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So
Yep.
that's something that so we make all of our nail lamps for Meyer Building,
Yep. Okay.
and I said just recently we've gotten into. We've always done it throughout the years. If a customer would ask for some nail lamps attached, we would do it. It's something we're looking to push more as a business model. It just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys don't want them attached, but the ones that do definitely see it as a value add, where they're not messing with it in the field.
Right.
And we have a nice setup here where we can attach it together, bundle it up, and take it out on a skid loader.
Yeah, right, exactly. But obviously, it's because with a Salas-on pole, they're going to have to attach them on job site anyways. It's a very very doable uh, process for a builder to just get a pallet or two of permacolumns and set up a little assembly spot on the job site and put them together and start tossing them in the hole. Right? I mean, it's not that
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're drilling two holes and putting two bolts in, and then you're drilling 4 screws or 8 screws, depending on what series you're talking about. So,
Right.
some guys, even like if you look at Kyle with R&R, he's doing a lot of the brackets. There's other builders too, though, that they're building their sections on the ground rather than and then they're setting up a section of wall at a time.
Right.
I think they're finding some safety advantages that way, and
Mhm.
really Perma-Column really allows that to happen. Sure, you could leave your treated bottom splice separate from your top, but I don't know that that's going to be a great connection. And so I think it works really well to have, go set your permacolumns if you want, then put up your sectional wall. I know some guys are doing that as well. If they're not doing the one post in the ground at a time method anymore.
So it seems like the word flexibility comes to mind. It's all about the job site, I suppose, to some degree, but more probably builder preference, right? What he
yeah,
likes.
oh my, I mean, you know better than I do, probably, Randy, that it seems like post frame, everybody has their way. And yeah, so that's just kind of been fascinating. And if Permacolumn can become and it is the leader in that, in this specific area, but if it can become just a normal, I think that'll continue to drive thinking that way for sure. So
Exactly.
it's good.
So you hit on something a minute ago, and that's something that I've been very, I'm very interested in is marketing, branding, and making use of social media. And that's something that you guys do a great job with, both you personally with Tri-State and Mark and the boys at corporate do a great job
Yeah,
to back you guys up.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and so talk maybe a minute about because you come from a, a a couple of years younger than I generation. We won't go to how many, but
You're too nice, Randy. You're too
I know.
nice.
But what how do you see the value? Obviously, you see it, but
Yeah,
talk to me about the value of social media and social media marketing and being out there. Because I don't go a day that I don't see something about Tri-State.
yeah,
There's never a day that I don't see you on a job site in front of your pickup, with the Tri-State Permacolumn or Meyer Building or whatever it's on it.
yeah,
You're there all the time.
yeah.
Obviously, there's a value. I know there's a value. I believe fully, but from your perspective, um, what's the value? I mean, is that how
Yeah.
important is that to you?
Yeah, obviously enough to spend thousands of dollars on it, right?
Right.
At a
Exactly.
minimum. But I think the idea is, if I can think about how I lead my life, right? If I'm not reminded daily of what's truly important, I'm probably gonna to shift to what I hear is important, right? Somebody's gonna tell me what's important. Um, and I think that's the same in any avenue, right? So if I'm looking to build a building, or if I'm going to be influenced by something, and really that's what I think social media allows you to do. It allows you a platform to be influential, and in front of more people than you ever have an opportunity to be in front of, just by Randy, we talked about earlier today. I mean, the idea of seeing 5 customers in a day, right,
Hmm.
versus seeing 1,000 people on social media. There's just a magnitude difference. Now, you can't replace. You're on the road for a reason, right? And I'd love to hear more about
Right.
that too. But you're on the road because face to face matters. So it's not. It
Right.
doesn't replace that, but it definitely enhances and it helps to shape thinking. I think part of it is even awareness, right? For a product that is in such a small segment of the marketplace, post frame is a small market compared
Hmm.
to general construction, and so I think that's where probably one of the areas where I see it, social media being a way to get directly into the consumer and into that end user,
Right.
without having to like send out a mailer, right?
Right.
Or having to put an ad in the newspaper, and it's you're going to see people are going to see it. So definitely valuable that way. As far as the tracking side of it too, however creepy some people think that is, it's valuable, right? I can start to see where my impact's being had, right?
Hmm.
In certain areas based on geography and so on and so forth. So very valuable. I'm sure some people can do it on their own. We have an agency that we use, and that's really helpful to be able to, I think, do it effectively. I'm sure
Right.
there's some people doing it obviously on their own too. But
Yeah. Well, and something you hit on a minute ago, circle back to is good or bad. It is, but some things just are what they are. You can argue all day whether it's good or bad, or but well, we're not going backwards.
no,
All we're doing is frontwards, and I think that or forwards, not frontwards. I guess that's the same thing. But
yeah,
the, everything moves so quickly compared to even 5 years ago. And you think about, I was thinking about today, and I stopped to get a water just after we talked. I was thinking about our conversation, and you literally buy a new iPhone, and by the time you get home and figure out how to work it, there's a new one again almost, right? I mean, it's like
oh, absolutely,
right. It goes so fast, and I think in a fast-paced world, uh, if you're not out there every day, like you said, reminding people of what you do, uh, you can get forgotten pretty quickly by somebody else that gets in the way, whether it's for your product or another product. Because if we, I read an article once, and I wish I had it because I'd sound really smart, but about how many things we see a day
oh right,
just on
yeah,
social
absolutely,
media,
yeah,
right? And I read a book once. I think it was I think the guy's name's Brandon Kane. I think, but I might be wrong. But it was called The Hook Point, and it talked about how you literally have 1 or 2 seconds to get somebody to either go, I at least want to look at this for a second. That's not even saying they'll listen to the whole thing,
right,
or they're gone, because
right,
you're literally flipping through, some of us, miles worth of content a day, right? And so and the crazy thing, but also the exciting thing, if we're involved with this and we just keep learning and doing, and you have an agency, I work with my buddy and pal Wes that you met a few minutes ago, but
yeah,
you better stay on the leading edge every day, because what used to take weeks could be days, and things change, right? Was there you go, accelerate, I like it, accelerate. Oh, accelerate your analytics. There you go. Look at Wes go. Um, but and what you just spoke to I think is huge. Is that if you're not out there telling people you ought to use Perma-Column, you ought to use whatever it is. Anybody listening, whatever they do, if if I'm not reminding you every day that I'm Randy, Source One Marketing, I'm your rep for all this stuff, whatever my stuff is. You're going to see, you're going to forget me in not 3 days, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The
right,
time flies so quickly,
right.
and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of impressions, right?
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
but the good news with that is if you do it right and you're out there and you're doing it, uh, you can influence opinions and thoughts and ideas just by being there. And I back to what we talked about earlier too. I think today is I love how you can use it to augment. And that's been one of the things that I'm really about is hybriding this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is road warrior stuff is important, especially in our industry.
Yep.
Need to be there, bro hugging and handshaking and burger and beer in the evening, whatever the thing is we're doing. But boy, you got to just be there every day, every second, after time, minute after minute, letting people know what you're doing, right? And that's what you're
Sure.
doing, and I think it's paying off, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And I think we want to have something we can believe in too, right? You don't want to. You're not selling something you don't believe in. You're not selling, and I feel like that's probably one area where I'm grateful that I have a product that has zero callbacks, that has that's going to last for forever, whatever that means. Right? We talked about it earlier, but
Yeah.
it's something we believe in. I don't feel like I'm blowing smoke. That'd be. There's so much marketing out there that's buy this, it'll make you happy, or buy this. It's like, no, hey, this just makes sense.
Right.
You need to
Exactly.
use this.
Exactly. That's good stuff. Last thing I had, unless there's and then anything else you wanna chat about, but you've been very very generous with your time. Um, and I'm getting dangerously close, and dangerously is not the right word, but of fully and completely and never allowing myself to talk about the big C word, COVID, ever again. I mean, I'm done for it, and we can forget about all the political and the sides and all that stuff. Which I mean, we got pretty divided for a while, right? Bottom line, it was there. Bottom line, it happened. I think you can take and learn something out of everything, right?
Right.
And that's always a question that I still find interesting, because all the stuff, not all the stuff, I am a completely different animal today than I was 2 years ago
Oh, absolutely.
in how I operate.
Yeah.
And I would have never done, I don't say never, but probably never done a lot of the things I'm doing now, which I think I've 10x'd what I normally would have done. I'm doing stuff now that if I'd have ever got to doing it, it would have been 10 years.
Right. Right.
It would have been 15 years, but I'm doing it because I was forced to, and took advantage of the time to do it, and figured it out, and changed course. So I'm not interested. Maybe, I mean, if you want to talk about it, but I'm interested in your take on COVID from a standpoint of, yeah, we took temperatures every day and we had a box of masks. We all did that. I'm tired of hearing about all that, right?
Right. Exactly.
What did you learn from COVID during that time that made you and your businesses stronger and better?
Yeah. Right. Now I appreciate that question. Yeah. Everybody's got an opinion on masks, right? So we won't go
Yeah.
there. So, I think several things come to my mind. Technology is probably one area that I don't think anybody would leave that out of their list, or maybe unintentionally, but just what we're doing right now, right? I've got a camera in my office. I never had a camera in my office other than more on my laptop that I would probably never use, right? So just that kind of thing, and leveraging that in the marketplace. So that's probably one area. Even just the accessibility of files. I'm not sure how if all companies are using the OneDrives and the Dropboxes now and the like, but that's some things that we really put priority on them to get them up, because we had to be able to work out of this office space. So some things like that. But I think probably the bigger area would be this whole inventory supply chain, right? So you don't know that you're as weak as you are until you find the chink in your armor, right? And so I think that's what happened, right? From a Meyer building side, right? That's one perspective. We were able to buy stuff and get it in 2 weeks, right? Plyco, Cannonball, you name it, right? Lumber I could get in 3 to 5 days. I can get truckloads of lumber in a week to 2 max, and that's just not the name of the game. And so that shapes your thinking, right? So now you're talking about inventory, right? How much can I bear to have? And I'm going to take as much as I can get, but then you got the pricing strategy, right? So I put more effort probably in the last 24 months into pricing strategy than I did previously. I didn't have to care about looking out 6 months with things.
Right.
So on the Perma-Column end, we had to have product, right? That was and Mark Stover, Perma-Column, Ken Deering those guys did an incredible job of getting us product. There were struggles, right? There was times where my customers, if they're listening, hope they are at some point, but they didn't get their product as fast as they wanted it. And so we really changed our thinking and said, we're gonna up our inventory levels, and we're gonna be building inventory because you have to have it.
Right.
You have to have product. So those are definitely some things that we did that we wouldn't have done. We would have kept doing kind of business as normal had COVID not come in and changed the landscape of supply chain.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. That's it. And so a thought as you're talking is something that I talk about from time to time that I've really learned to is to adapt, and that's what you just talked about. And more importantly, I learned to adapt to doing things like we're doing now, to doing video emails, to doing video text, to guesting on all the stuff that I do now that I didn't. But the most important thing is I think that came out for me was I learned to be an adapter and expect to adapt, anticipate I'm going to need to adapt, and adapt freely and openly as it comes, right?
Absolutely.
And I wasn't an adapter in the past near as much. I was I leave Sunday evening on a plane and I fly in and I see 3 or 4 people a day and donuts in the morning and pizza at lunch and a beer or 2 in the evening with a burger, and then I do it again. And you bro hug and you kiss babies and I mean you do the thing, and then you come home and then you go do it again, right? But when we had to change all this, like I said, and I think that what you were saying, which I think is pretty right on, is that whatever new things come along, whatever they may be, hopefully never as disruptive as this has been, right?
Right.
But it's like, okay, well, we've adapted before, we've changed before, and I think it changed my mindset more than anything else was just to be ready, willing, and able to just adapt and just say, okay, I'm an adapter now. I like what I'm doing right now, but if you tell me tomorrow I need to do it differently, well, then we'll just figure that out, right?
Yeah, you have to have systems, you have to have processes, right?
Yep.
But you gotta have your fingers on the radar to figure out, what eyes on the radar. What's that look like? What are these points that I'm missing that are gonna I'm gonna get hit, right?
Right on. Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome.
It's good.
Perfect. Well, Matthew, I appreciate it again very much. Any last words of wisdom from the world of Mathew Gerber? Because I'm sure there's some brilliance. I can see it steaming out of your ear.
Yeah, right there. No, one thing I would say, perspective is probably what's helping shape my thinking. We were talking earlier today, Randy. I've got a lot to learn, right? And I want to continue to surround myself with really talented people such as yourself and the Mark Stovers, right? I hope he's watching this. But surround myself with those kind of people that can help shape my thinking. My brother's been a huge piece of that, helping me see my blind spots, right? At the NFBA trade show, we had the Wingman talk, and as a leader, right? I can't see behind me, right? I can't see right behind me, and so I've got to have that group of people around me to help shape my thinking. So in my industry, then too, right? That's what I want. I want to develop and I want to grow to elevate the post-terrain industry as a whole. And I'm excited to be a part of this. Excited to see where the Lord takes things in the future and what that looks like for years to come.
You got her. Well, it's good. It's great to. It's been great to have you on, and it's great to get to know you better.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's absolutely imperative, like something you just hit on, that as an industry, uh, I'm not necessarily. I'm not taking this as the. I think it was a Hillary Clintonism or something, but it takes a village. I understand what she's saying. I don't always buy certain parts of all that,
Right.
but I know one thing: as an industry, we either
Yep.
elevate the industry together,
Yep.
or we don't. But if we do, then the whole industry grows. And if the industry grows and we move into different areas, we all get our little piece of that, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and then we all get a piece of a bigger pie that we can all kind of help put the pie together, I guess. And
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
and I
Exactly.
think that's what we was talking about earlier is working together with people like ourselves and anybody else we can get to just let's just build this industry to to
Yeah.
to the next level with that, whatever that is. And on top of it, it's kind of fun too.
Absolutely. I came to this industry 6 years ago, and come from the general contracting world and then into this one, so much more. I just feel like there's so much more relationship, so much more just realness. It's been refreshing, and I really enjoyed the change for
Good
sure.
stuff.
So glad to be part
All
of
righty,
it,
my
man.
friend. Well, I
Thanks
know
for
you've
your
been
time, man.
very
I do
kind.
appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate your time. It was very, very good stuff. And thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
you, man.
absolutely.
All right.
Take care. Thanks a
All
lot.
right. Cheers, brother.
Yep. See ya.
All right, my friends. Mathew Gerber, Tri-State Perma-Column, Meyer Buildings, Ossian, Wisconsin, or Wisconsin, Indiana area. Uh, and if you don't follow Mathew, follow him on social media. He's always got some great stuff out. One or twice, 2, 3 times a day, I see him all the time. You'll love what he does. And if you need some permacolumns in that part of the world, give him a call. Need a building, give him a call. So I am going to spend a weekend of kid and grandkid and great grandkid. I know that doesn't make me old, kind of does, but stuff this weekend, and then be back at it, building wins next week, all week on the road. Next week is another one of Randy's trifectas, which I love. It's a hashtag Road Warrior Randy week because I'm on the road. It's going to be a hashtag Showtime Randy because I've got a show next week, and as always, it's hashtag it's go time because right, it's always go time. So next week, before we get out of here, we've got a friend of mine that I've got to know virtually. I've had the honor of being on his podcast a couple of weeks ago. We recorded it a couple of weeks ago. It's going to come out in a month, I think. But a guy named Harry Spate. Harry is an author. He's a coach, a business coach. His book, Selling with Dignity, I got a couple of weeks ago and have read it. Very, very good book about just doing things the right way. Being a sales guy, it's okay to be a sales guy. Let's just do it the right way. Let's do it with honesty, integrity, and dignity. And that's what Harry's all about. And he also hosts his own podcast. I wrote it down here. So I knew I'd forget. Sales Made Easy. Sales Made Easy podcast. And here's a great guy. You're going to love his really down home chats that we're going to have about sales. So next week is going to be a couple of old in both ways. I think he's younger than me, but I got to get some older people on. This is not working for me. But anyway, Harry and I are going to have a great chat about sales, and you're going to love that. So don't miss that next week. And 2 or 3 things, last things, I promise. You know, I have a lot of mantras. I have more mantras than I have dark hair. And one of them is that, I talk about doing what you love and loving what you do. And that's what I'm doing right now. It's what I've done all week, what I'm going to do all weekend, all next week. And that's important. So love what you do what you love. You got to live it, love it, own it, because we only get one go around on this planet. Whatever comes next, different thoughts, different beliefs, and that'll probably be even better. But right now, we get one go around here. So live it, love it, own it. And always, say it with me now, always make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, my friends. See you next week. Be huge, be large, be awesome.